Do you have how do you want me to address you or anything like that?
Don't you address me as Captain Awesome?
Captain Awesome? You want me to you want me to okay, all right, okay, I got you. So we are here with Mr. Captain Awesome, right? Depends on the day. I call him Captain Variable, right? So Captain Awesome and I have been having a discussion um, that I felt would be really, really amazing for a lot of the men that tune in and watch with the locker room about squad goals. He had a lot to say, and I had to stop him because I told him that we're going to do it on camera. We're going to have it recorded so that way we can share it because you had some really good things to say. Called you or texted you and said, hey, what are your thoughts about squat goals? And I put that, um, are they realistic pursuits or just idealistic concepts that most men had? Do you remember what you had to say about that?
We had a lot to say about that.
The initial one.
Well, one, my first thing was why did you call it squad? Why not tribe?
Well, I mean, most people, a lot of people, they have their tribe, but tribe means, there's more interaction, right? You're more communal, you're more life, doing life with somebody. Like a tribe raises a child, right? You have a tribe that you experience life together with, as opposed to a squad, it's like a buddy. They might have a specific focus or you all connect in certain ways, right? That's your squad for anime, your squad for Call of Duty, your squad for the gym, right? So it's like everybody has different types of squads because sometimes like I don't mix friend groups. I've learned that the hard way. I don't mix friend groups. So, but I know that you like to use tribe and I think more of those community type of words when associating people that you are close to. Am I mistaken?
Well, I mean, I gave some of your notes. I was thinking about it and thinking about after our call and the way that I see like, when we talk about squad and you have a community, which to me is like a macro level. Like that's my city that I live in. The tribe, it's more of a broader group. That would be like your neighborhood within the city, like if you're uh in a pretty good economic level, then you're at the top of the hill. That's your tribe. That's the community that kind of has the same ideologies in a way. Now, I would caveat that with, people that rent versus people that are homeowners. You'll have you'll have more of what I would call like a Sigma wolf mindset when you're a renter because people come and go. They don't really talk to each other just because of the way society has over time has trained us to stranger danger, don't talk to one another. When you have a home, that's more of a tribe because you actually end up talking to your neighbors occasionally from time to time because you're established. But then when you mention squad, I see that as like the second family that you chose.
The second family that you chose.
Like ride or die. Like that's I mean, when we talk about squad, I'm looking at, not acquaintances where people are like, look at how many followers I have on Instagram or Facebook. This is your I mean, when we talk about the five fave when T-Mobile came out, and I used to work for T-Mobile, and there are so many people that couldn't even come up with five people, you know,
Mm-hmm,
which is pretty
hmm
sad. But your squad is your tight knit group, and it's very hard to find people nowadays that will actually stop what they're doing and be there for you, whether it's just, someone to vent to or someone to just say, hey, you know what, I'm opening my door up to you. I know that you're having a hard time. Why don't you just come stay here for a weekend or whatever?
Yeah, I had that happen just not that long ago. This past weekend, one of my very dear friends who's actually been on Locker Room, Dr. Mitchell, Christopher Mitchell, who is the owner and CEO of Gentleman's Way and Say So. Um, and he does a lot of other things too. We had just talked prior to us having our conversation now about a loss that I experienced. And him and his wife immediately just shot me a text that said, hey, um, if you want to come out here, just come and we'll figure it out later. So we set it up, and I actually just went and spent a couple of days with them at their house, just kind of chilling, reconnecting with them, talking about the loss, and who's close enough to some family, so I got to go spend time with my family as well. So it's like I know what you mean. You talk about when you have those type of people. Now I wouldn't say that that's my squad. Like that's their family. They're part of what I would say a tribe. But more so the reason why I use the squad term is because it's the locker room. You go to the gym. You usually take your squad with you to the gym because it's like, okay, man, we're all there and we have our little pseudo competitions of like to see who can do what and max rep what, and it's just great camaraderie. But it's like, when you look, and I know you're not really big on social media, but I obviously have to be. When I'm on social media, and I'm seeing these people and these guys particularly posting about, their squad, and it's typically surrounding the fitness world or, um, weights or some type of gaming or anime or things like that. Now, for me, my friends, we talk about businesses, right? We talk about businesses and legacy building type of activities. Yeah, we do talk about weights as well, because like you and I, we talk about fitness and things like that all the time, but we also talk about other things that's a much bigger priority than hitting the gym. Like health and wellness is not necessarily gym. It can be. But most of the people that we connect with here, at the locker room, um, their squad goals deal with like, people that they get in shape with together, people that they get out of debt with together, they go travel with together. I have noticed that what they post is always an idealistic representation, meaning they have already found the people who have done what they want or what they're trying to achieve, and then they post it. Like, oh man, it's a squad goal. So it's like they have already accomplished that. Like, so what does your squad look like now? And I was like, that's why I wanted to see, the thought and have the chat with you about, is it really truly a realistic pursuit that people have? Or do they just like posting about the fantasy of the idea and having seen other people's results and say, oh, that's great for you. I can live vicariously through what you just did, yeah, but I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, we did talk about the idealism, and I was asking about that. And, you could post something about like Goku, something that's more fantasy than anything else. Um, I would somewhat kind of push back though, like, that friend of yours, one of the key words that they used while you're dealing with the loss is one, they weren't dismissive, but two, that word was will, wheel, W-E apostrophe L-L, saying that we're in this together. So that's why I would say I would disagree with you on it doesn't necessarily have to be in the locker room. Like maybe that person doesn't necessarily work out, but to me, the way that I look at it as a squad is a balance. When we talk about a locker room, sometimes you may have one mindset individual that is just thinking about eating right and hitting the weights, but they don't have the communication down when it comes to having a, a partner for life, that woman that has her act together, so that's why I think a squad really needs to be balanced: health, wealth, love, and happiness, right?
Hmm.
You just talk about health in the locker room. Yeah, you might have some communication, you might have the emotional health, you might have the physical health, but you need other things in there.
Yeah, you're right about that. A lot of the times though, when you're in the locker room, when you're going pretty fast paced, right? Um, it's like a pit stop, right? If you're at the gym, typically most guys, they're there. You see them either by themselves or they're with a partner, somebody that's helping with them, especially if it's leg day. You have your spotter. Or if you're doing chest, you have the spotter, right? Typically you don't have, I mean, or shoulders, one of those things. But you don't really have somebody spotting you on arm day, right? If you can't bicep curl, then why are you trying to lift heavy, right? But it's the days when you have the spotter that are needed. Um, Oftentimes you're there and you see people working out. They come in, they'll do their workout, they go into the locker room, they're change, go either to the sauna. I always like the sauna. I keep telling you to take your butt to the sauna. Um, Take the sauna, shower, put on what they're gonna do, and then they leave to go to face whatever rest of the world they have to go do.
Mhm.
Your squad usually is aware of what it is that you're about to go do, you know, and they're like, "Yeah, man, we were rooting for you," and things like that, or they're not aware, and then they say, "Hey, man, where you about to dip off to?" But it's when you have people who are with you, like I have some buddies who very business focused have a huge area of opportunity when it comes to fitness, right? Um, they are not very focused on going to the gym or working out or not very consistent.
Mhm.
But they're doing their business stuff, right? And so I wouldn't necessarily I wouldn't necessarily say that they're a part of my squad when it comes to that. Yeah, maybe they're part of the tribe because we're heading in a very specific direction as it pertains to legacy building. But full disclaimer, I'm not mentioning any names here. I wouldn't call them to go work out with me because they've shown me that that's not something that they're prioritizing. Now, does that make me a bad person? Some people may say so. Some people may not say so. But when I look at the focus that I have and the things that I put my energy and time and resources to doing today and tomorrow, learning from yesterday, right? I want to be around those people who are matching that effort in their own life, in their own way, and their with their own energy. So that way when we come together, we are together doing what we're doing separately, but we are supporting each other. Like, I may not know all the details of what's going on, but I can see and I can sense that you are focused, that you are engaged, that you are dialed in, and that regardless of what I have going on, you got going on, we are actively pursuing that in a together type of sense, even though we're not doing the same thing. So for me, that's how I approach squads. Um, we don't have to be doing the same thing in the same manner or working on the same type of projects, stuff like that. But mindset wise, focus wise, we are we're right there, same way. So that's what I mean by, the realistic pursuit, because I had somebody that I was working with, a young guy out where I'm at now. And he was just so focused on making sure the shadows hit where the muscles and stuff go. And I'm like, and I'm using that example of fitness again because this is how we connected, right? This is how most guys connect because I don't gonna get you're gonna get talk about that because it's like I can easily talk about other things, but um society has limited men to, but actually, let's transition to that. Society, I believe, has limited men to a very primal vocabulary of expression. What are your thoughts about what about what I just said?
They limit they limited men to, yeah, just, I mean, we're not a communicative species by any means. It's like just one word answers type thing. We're not as vocal as women are. What is it? The studies that show that women speak thousands more words than guys in a day. Like they just know how to communicate far better than us.
Hmm.
So yeah, I agree with you on
One of the things I have encountered in the years that I have been working with men, personally, professionally, and just haphazardly, um, by not haphazardly because it sounds like something bad, by happenstance, right? They want to be able to communicate better. Like
that.
they want to be able to connect better, and they know it deals with communication, but they don't know how. And not knowing how um, impacts their ability to seek out the how because like, oh, now I have to ask. And if I have to ask, it's going to present me as a certain way. And so they don't ask because they don't want to be seen as a weak or, like they don't have it all together. So, and that's something I remember sharing with you about when I was talking about, people, men communicating those things. Like if they're having a bad day, their communication typically is silent. And what's the word? When you're silent, but you're like operating and you're kind of like hovering, hovering and stuff like that, like fuming, fuming, but not so much in an aggressive way and mad because you're ruminating over what's going on, and you are internally, the wheels are spinning and things like that. You and I both know it's like when that happens with me, I'm trying to find a solution. I'm trying to find a way to fix it. I'm trying to find something that will correct whatever's going on and dealing with it. And I have retreated internally to my fix-a-man shack um, to resolve the issue, and nobody else matters. But when you're communicating outwardly, people who know you and they're your squad, they can pick up on it and they know, and it's just like an unspoken thing. But it's still an assumption.
Mhm.
It's still speculatory. Um, so what are your thoughts about like how to overcome those things? Because it's like how have you faced that? Have
Well,
you
my
had to
first
do?
question is when you talk about men dealing with that, are you talking about like what's the majority that you're seeing? Is it related? Is it
That's a very good
problems that
question.
they brought on themselves? Is it, I mean, what is the majority that you see? It's like men like would like to, because you said men would like to talk about it, but they can't. So what are you seeing? Is it like I like to talk to this girl or I like to talk to my partner? What do you see?
Mhm. Hmm. The majority of the experiences that I have had with men, um, in that regards, is them just vocalizing how they feel in the moment about anything.
Okay.
Anything. Like if they're happy or sad or upset, or just being able to say, I feel fill in the blank.
Mhm.
And it's not happy, sad, angry.
Well, my first question is when you talk about